currently trying to film an introduction for the video whilst making breakfast as well, which isn't gonna work out great because I can't multitask. I know I'm gonna mess up the eggs. Give me 2 seconds. Anyway, YouTube, how are we all? I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all having a great day. Y'all, I hope you're having a great day. American now. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're actually going to be doing a full day of eating on a training day. I'm also going to take you through a glute session with me today, and we're just going to have a load of fun. So this last week has not actually gone amazingly well for me. I've actually just been a little bit ill, which is frustrating because I've got a limited amount of weeks to grow. So in my head, I'm always like, no, I need to make the most of it. I need to make the most of it. Anyway, I've just had a little bit of a dicky stomach. Since last week, we've actually not made any changes to plan. So this is the foods that I've been eating for the last 3 weeks in order to grow muscle as a wellness girl. So without further ado, we're gonna go into the meal 1, which is exactly the same as what you saw last week. And then we're gonna go into meal 2, 3, 4, and 5. It's actually really funny. Actually, this is not funny at all. I have a very specific way that I need to eat egg, and I don't like wet bits on the egg whites at the top. I just can't eat it. It just freaks me out. But then also, I need to have a runny yolk, and I seem to mess up my eggs every single time. So now I've got hard yolk and I've also got runny egg whites. It's always my food that I mess up. George's is perfect, but mine, I need like a private chef in this house. Anyone want to be hired as a private chef? Drop me a DM. Meal number 1, as usual, we've got 100 mils of egg whites, 2 whole eggs, and a shit ton of vegetables. Of course, I top it off with my lighter than light mayo. This one's from Lidl. I actually used to get this one, which is the Hellmann's one, if anyone actually cares. I used to get the Hellmann's one, and this is also the same macros as the other one, but this costs like £4. This, I think, costs like £1.50. So you are welcome. You're saving on a budget. Hey lovely, how are you? Oops. We're back in my trusted little eating spot and we're on to meal 2. I've just had a morning of studying, calls, replying to clients, and yeah, now we are currently at, what's the time? 8. Oh, Diesel's hair. So meal 2, we have got 70 grams of jasmine rice, 125 grams of 5% beef mince, broccoli, what's the word for that? Beetroot, a little bit of mayo, and a little bit of Nando's barbecue sauce. After every meal, me and Mangy have a little digestion cuddles, don't we, Mang? The purpose of this is to reduce cortisol and therefore increase the gut motility. So therefore you have more nutrient uptake and thus you have more anabolic gains.
People are actually going to believe that.
Do you think?
Yeah, because obviously people are so gullible online. They're like, well, she's a doctor, she knows what she's talking about. So they're actually going to start doing cuddles and shit. To be fair,
no, do that.
There's probably some truth to that. To be fair, if you're having cuddles with your dog and your cortisol drops,
yeah,
less stress,
exactly,
better digestion.
Exactly.
So there is some science behind it.
No, who needs ashwagandha when you've got Mangy, who always gives cuddles?
You're my 600 milligrams of ashwagandha.
She's 600 milligrams of ashwagandha in the form of Mangy. Pre-workout meal about to go down. I tend to eat my oat around an hour and a half to... This blueberry's disgusting. So pre-workout, I have oats, and I've had oats for as long as I can remember. If not oats, it's been cream of rice. Nothing really changes when it comes to that. You're probably asking why. I never changed my peri-workout nutrition. So my pre-workout, my post-workout usually remains the same unless I get like the ick. I had chicken once, chicken and rice, and I just got the chicken ick. So that's the only time it changes. The reason why I keep it the same is because I know it works, and I obviously eat for aesthetics, but I eat for performance because ultimately my performance in the gym is what allows me to have the aesthetics that I do or that I aspire for. Oats is my go-to. You're probably asking why oats, because this tastes delicious for me and it also digests really, really well. When it comes to pre-workout nutrition, what you want to be aiming for is something that is high in carbohydrate. The type of carb that you go for depends on how long it takes for you to eat your meal and then go to the gym. Because I eat around an hour to an hour and a half before I actually step foot in the gym, then warm up and then train, so probably around 2 hours, I tend to have more slower releasing carbohydrates, something like oats. But when I was at uni and I used to have like half an hour between when I would eat to when I would go to the gym, because I'd finish placement, scoff something up and head straight to the gym, I'd probably opt for something like rice cakes with banana and honey. So I would keep the fat volume very, very low within that meal, just because fat slows down the release of carbohydrates. And then what I would also do is have quicker releasing carbs that, you know, don't have as much fiber in there that slow down the digestion. Yeah, that would just basically allow me to absorb those quicker, sustain the energy, and perform well. Other good things to have pre-workout: cream of rice. You can have chicken and rice. You can have absolutely anything that you want, as long as you don't feel bloated, feel sick, and it doesn't make you crash. That's basically it. So pre-workout, what we have is 65 grams of oats with 20 grams of whey mixed in. We make these in the morning and then mix the whey in once they're cooled down and put them in the fridge. They taste so much better cold. 100 grams of frozen blueberries, 50 grams of frozen raspberries. Then I have 20 grams of honey. Then I make a 20 gram whey paste and drizzle some peanut butter. No, actually almond butter, specifically the coconut almond butter on top. This stuff tastes like crack. And if you've not tried it, order it right now from Amazon. I think I got this for like £13 and it's a kilo, and it's lasted me so long. Oh, it smells so good. With my pre-workout meal, what I also have is 3 capsules of the glucose from Supplement D. This helps with the absorption of carbohydrates. So if you are on a high carb diet, I would definitely get this in your program. It's also really good for females with PCOS that might have altered glucose metabolism, or people with metabolic syndrome or type 2 diabetes. The only thing that this doesn't contain is berberine hydrochloride, which I would buy on the side of this, and that also helps with the absorption of glucose. And that is the finished product. The drizzle on top, I believe, is what makes the oats honestly taste from like, well, go from like 8.10, 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10 to...
What are you talking about, bro?
What I was trying to say is the oats go from 8 out of 10 to 11 out of 10 with the drizzle.
What drizzle?
The whey drizzle.
Oh, the whey drizzle.
What are you talking about?
Weren't listening.
What are we watching today?
Also, there's fuck all on YouTube right now. Literally, fuck all. You know when you scroll through, it's like, this is fucking shit.
No, that's Emma! That was a mistake.
I wasn't looking, that's my excuse.
Pre-workout drink is in and we're at the gym. First thing that I do before any single session is I actually just spend about 5 minutes either on the bike like I am right now, or actually warming up on the Stairmaster. I'm already out of breath, so we'll see how this intro goes. The reason why I do this is because I find that this is a really good opportunity for me just to get my head into the session. I just envision what I want to achieve, like what do I want to get out of the session? How do I want to look on stage? I find that this is something that's so crucial for me, because if you're someone that like works with people, or me as an online coach, or even when I was in hospital and I was dealing with patients, I found that it was really hard for me to switch off and actually be in the moment during my training sessions. And these are the 2 hours, 3 hours for you to make progress. And if you're someone that struggles to get into your sessions, just spend 5 minutes, listen to some motivational music, motivational podcast, or badass bitch music. Get your head in. It really, really does help. Today I'm in for my second leg session of the week. Even though this is full leg based, so I'm targeting my glutes, my hams and my quads, I'm still primarily focusing on my glutes, and I do this by the priority principle. So my first exercises within my entire program today are glute focused. So I've got a glute kickback, a V squat, which I slightly change in terms of my stance, so I maximize my hip flexion, the Nautilus hip thrust, which is obviously a thrust pattern, hinge pattern. I do the single leg RDL. I did them on dumbbells last time, but I think I'm going to use the machine today because I didn't get on with a dumbbell. Line hamstring curl and leg extension at the end. So the reason why you want to be prioritizing the exercises that maybe you're weakest at, or you ultimately need to target the muscle most for growth, your energy availability is going to be highest at the start of the session, when obviously your central nervous system isn't going to be absolutely taxed. And that is why I always like to start with an isolation and then transfer that onto obviously my compound movements, focusing on the first compounds being the ones that I primarily want to target. So that is the session for today. In addition to my actual mobility, I like to use the booty band to basically just attain a mind muscle connection with my glutes. This is something I massively struggle with, as I've actually got lower back issues, and naturally my brain wants to protect my lower back by not engaging my glutes. So what I typically do is I lie on my front, I bend my knee, And then what I think about doing is squeezing my glutes, driving my foot upwards. If I do this with my leg out straight, what will happen is most likely my hamstring will take over. So by bending your knee, you're actually taking away from the hamstring, recruiting that initial movement. So this is basically what I want you to do if you struggle to connect with your glutes. Hold it for 5 seconds, let go, do the other side, and then repeat after that. So the first exercise is the Panatta Master Gluteus. I don't usually like kickback machines, but this one's actually all right. It allows me to push very hard against the pad, so I don't feel like I'm recruiting like my trap, you know, trying to basically hold in with my shoulders. I can solely focus on my glutes. My best tip when it comes to glute kickbacks is, first of all, don't go too heavy. The moment you start to feel your quads over your glutes, that probably means the weight is a little bit too much for you, so just reduce the weight. The second thing is as well, the position of your pelvis is going to be super, super important. If you're getting into glute kickbacks and straight away you're doing like, basically, you know when they do like, is it angry cat, happy cat, angry cat? I can't remember what you did in primary school. The moment you start arching your lower back, you're going to be recruiting your lower back over your glute. So when you get into a glute kickback and you get into position, make sure that the first thing that you do is actually keep your spine neutral by contracting your core. Do not neglect your core when it comes to even isolation movement. So when I'm actually performing my first sort of rep, what I'm thinking about doing is tucking my glutes under, contracting my core, and then thinking about the stretch in my glute and simply contracting my glute. So I'm not thinking about just kicking back like this. That's going to do fuck all. You really want to be thinking about which muscle you are engaging. Train your isolations like you would with your compounds. If you're finishing your isolations and you're not sort of like fuck like this, probably not training them hard enough. And these are the only exercises where you can solely just target that muscle to an extent. So really make the most of it, because they do count. Another top tip when doing like unilateral work, whether it's upper or lower, is always start on your weaker side. What I noticed is months ago, my left side was so weak, I could literally do like 10 reps less on my left side compared to my right. So what I would typically do is hit failure on the weaker side and then just match reps on my stronger side. Initially, it felt like I was just underperforming on the stronger side, but with time now, my strength has equaled out and I can actually do the same reps on both sides. So if you're someone that struggles with one side being weaker, try that. Honestly, I gave up on recording today. I basically forgot the attachment to attach the camera to the tripod, so I'm recording on my phone, and obviously the sun out there, so I know you're completely blinded on this, but anyway, we're getting it done. The next exercise we've got is the V squat machine, and I'm doing this glute bias. So ultimately what I want to achieve is maximal hip flexion. And what that means is I want my hips to bend more than my knees do. The moment your knees start to be driven forwards, that's when you recruit more quad, which is obviously something that I want to avoid in this compound movement. The way that I set this up is I use this little strap here because I'm too short to actually re-rack it. I create a little bit of a loop, and that way it's easier for me to actually grab the handle when I'm finished with the movement. With foot positioning, this is going to depend on you completely. I can't tell you exactly where to place your feet because depending on your height and obviously your range of motion, it's going to be slightly different. I realized that probably having my toes in the middle of the platform is perfect to achieve that hip mobility that I want. And what I tend to do with this whole movement, let me just unrack it, is before I even think about going down, I actually end up hinging at my hips first. So as you can see, I'm pushing my hips backward and then I'm slightly bending my knee, but continuing to focus on pushing my hips to almost like, I imagine there being a wall behind me. So I think about just pushing those hips back, staying there for a pause, lengthening the glutes, and then squeezing my glutes and thinking about driving them forwards into this pad. So I'm not simply just focusing on going up and down, up and down. I'm thinking about hips back, slightly downwards, stretching the glute. When I get the maximal stretch of the glute, that's when I squeeze them and drive them forward. And then I use this little notch to lift it up because I'm actually too short for this exercise. What's super important between your sets, or just like before your sets, is your mindset. Like if you tell yourself you can't lift something or something looks really, really heavy, then most likely you won't be able to lift it. I used to be so guilty of this, where I used to literally psych myself out before sets. And I used to be like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like this is so heavy, I won't be able to do this, I'm just a girl. Now what I tend to do is I go into like any exercise like like this. What I will tell myself before the set is I look at the weight, I'm just like, that is piss easy. Like, I am going to lift that and I'm going to make it look like it's literally featherweight. And what happens is every single time I do tend to surprise myself. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to chuck more weight onto this, because last time I think I got like 12 or 13 reps on my top set. So I'm going to try and do 3 plates per side. And yeah, it's going to be fucking easy. Going into this saying, I can, I will, I must. Putting on some bangers, bracing hard, and then absolutely sending it.
Chest up.
Thank you. Fucked. And that, ladies and gents, is why mindset is everything. I did 100 kilos last time for 12 reps, and this week I got 120 kilos for 11, so I literally dropped down 1 rep. And when I went into this set, I was like, okay, this is an ambitious weight. If I get around 8 reps, I will be happy, and I surpassed that by 3. I think it was solid 3 as well. It wasn't like shit form or anything like that. Really, really happy. And do you know what? Sometimes you just have to be a little bit delusional. You have to be like, so adamant that you're going to win that there's literally going to be nothing stopping you. Because again, if I went into that set and I doubted myself and I was like, you know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, or you know, I'll just do 3 reps and that'll be it. Fuck that. You've got to believe in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, who the fuck's going to do it for you? If you're watching this before your session, set yourself a number that you're like, I am going to get that. I'm going to get that, like my life depends on it. And some people think I might be a little bit cuckoo in the head. They're probably right, but that is literally what gets me progressing. That is what gets me driven up for my set. And do you know what? Even if people think I'm delusional, who cares? Because I don't. On to my most hated exercise. Well, it's a love-hate relationship. I'm so weak on the hip thrust like variations, whether it's a Nautilus glute drive, whether it's like an actual barbell hip thrust. It's so frustrating. But one thing that I will say is most likely you are going to dislike the exercise you're weakest at, and therefore that's the exercise you should be doing the most. I've actually got a hip thrust program twice a week, once on here, one on the barbell hip thrust, and I tell myself every single time, oh my God, I love it. Literally, I'm trying to gaslight myself into thinking that this is the best exercise known to man. As you get further into your session, the need for warm-up set decreases. So when I initially do my first couple of exercises, I will typically take a few more warm-up sets just to make sure that my muscles are warm, my joints are stimulated, and overall, like, I'm not risking any sort of injury. Whereas when I get to this point in the session and I've already done, you know, a decent amount of warm-ups on my kickbacks, and also I've done around I've done probably around 3-4 warm-ups on the V squat and 2 top sets. You know, there's no need to be faffing about on this. I'm already warm. I can already feel my glutes. So reason why I do warm-ups further on is literally just to gauge the movement and make sure the setup is absolutely perfect. So when it comes to a hip thrust, the common question I get asked by my clients is, where do you sort of position your hips? What I want you to think about is, where do you position your hips when it comes to a barbell? You want the weights to be on the bony part of your hip, or the ASIS. The same goes for basically setting us up for a Nautilus glute drive. I see a lot of people like pushing themselves back, and they sort of like do the exercise like this, where the hips are literally all the way in absolutely Australia, the other side of the world. So just really think about locking yourself in here, pull the pad up close, leave a little bit of leeway here, so when you contract your glutes is not like restricting that range of motion, because I find that, not because I've got a big bunda. I'm joking. I wish I wasn't. But ultimately what you want to do is when you unwrap, you want to be thinking about bringing this bony part of the hips to the ceiling, and you want to be thinking about tucking those glutes under rather than simply thinking about extending those hips. You want to be thinking about almost like thrusting, like guys do, you know, when they do the do. That's the best way I could explain it. So you think about doing this with your hips rather than just thinking about doing that. You know, that's not a good movement. It's all in the movement of the hips, all right? fuck. That didn't feel great. No, that didn't feel great. I went up a little bit in weight. I was like, give this a run. And I usually find this with hip thrusts. The moment I go up, I just lose connection, but I'm gonna stick at this weight, just perfect this set, watch it back as well, because I feel like my position wasn't quite right. Just give it up on RDLs. Not because I'm a wuss, but because it just doesn't suit me. I've been so stubborn and wanted to do them because I know they're so good for glute growth, but my traps and my lower back just decide to take over, really. And I don't need any more back. I really don't. If anything, I need to donate it to someone because it's too big at the moment. And the thing is with wellness, even though you don't show your back, it really does matter. If my erectors get too big, what's gonna happen is it's really gonna thicken my waist from my rear shot, and it's not gonna create the illusion of like the hourglass shape that I want. So I'm taking them out because there's other ways to grow your glutes, and that's something I really want you to remember. Like, there's not a one size fits all approach. If your favorite influencer or your favorite Fitspo or whatever the fuck they're called, and it doesn't work for you, don't fucking do it. Don't do it. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna do the single leg press, 45-degree angle. I'm gonna place my foot higher on the platform. Let's not even start the debate on, oh, it doesn't matter what you put on the platform, it's all gonna recruit the same thing. Shut up, it works for me. So I place it higher on the platform. That causes more hip flexion, less knee flexion, more stretch in the glute. I recruit it much better. It feels good for me. Therefore, guess what? I'm gonna do it. What I tend to do as well with this exercise is, instead of just like being a sort of like neutral position, that like my back on the pad, I actually lean slightly to my left and I take my opposite hand to the leg that I'm working and basically just pull myself into the seat. When I go into the eccentric, I really control it and think about my knee going directly in a straight line, but more so to the left rather than caving in. Since this is a full day of eating, I should probably talk about my intra-workout. So, oh my god, shat myself. Let's hope I didn't break that. During my training sessions, I actually, at the moment, I'm consuming essential amino acids. These ones are from Supplement Needs, and I don't even know what flavor they are, so don't ask me. The importance of EAAs is for individuals who I would say would train with quite a lot of intensity. Like, they're not going to make you grow more muscle, but they definitely do help you recover more, because ultimately you're fueling yourself with amino acids, which are basic building blocks of protein, aka muscles, during your training. So when you're tearing the muscle fibers, you get a quick replenishment of this to spike your muscle protein synthesis. A lot of people also ask whether you should have creatine intra-workout. You can do. It doesn't really matter when you have creatine. You can have it pre-workout, post-workout, as long as you have it. 5 grams a day, typically, and just keep it consistent. You don't need to load it. You can load it. The saturation of the creatine will peak quicker, but ultimately it's going to peak at the same level. Same as if you were to take 5 grams for a couple of days. So no need to load creatine, no need to have it in your workout. You can literally have it at any point. Let me just actually set this up correctly. Another useful thing to have in your intra-workout is actually having salts. So you can either have a hydration formula, or I put pink salt into my my pre-workout, just because if I mix, this is how much of a child I am. If I mix hydration formula with EAAs, I won't drink it because it doesn't taste nice. I'm terrible. Oh, this is why you do warm-up sets, even at the back of your training sessions, because I didn't do a warm-up set there. I felt warm, I knew what weight I was using, my setup was completely wrong, so it just felt shit, but I committed to it. When you're thinking about a lying hamstring curl, or even a seated hamstring curl, what you want is you want the pad to be sort of like mid-calf. As you probably saw, mine was literally on my ankle, and that just feels absolutely wank. Don't do that. Have it around mid-shin. You want your knee to be within the axis of rotation, which is where the machine tends to hinge at. So knees where this little thing is, then pad should be literally here, just below mid-shin / mid-shin. think about, again, tucking your hips in, digging them into the pad, holding very tight onto the handles, and also what you want to do is just tuck your chin, try not to overextend, because the moment that you do, your lower back will arch. And to be honest with you, that set wasn't great at all from me, because I recruited quite a lot of lower back, but that was literally just down to the fact that set was awful. My fault, I'm to blame. Not gonna cry about it. Do better in the next set. Last exercise, which is the leg extension. Honestly, I'm so glad this session's almost done because I am absolutely mashed. I'm so tired. I'm just hungry as well. One set on this, and what we're gonna be doing is a double rest pause set. So once I hit failure on this exercise, I rest for 20 seconds, I go again, and then I rest for 20 seconds, and then I go again. Literally, RIP. It's just so painful. I can't even explain it, but you gotta do this to get big quads. I'm gonna cry. Fucking shit, I'm out. That session was absolutely brutal. I honestly felt like I died and I just came back to life. Actually, I've not come back to life just yet. Might need to reassess that session, to be honest. George actually said to me that I'm training for a little bit too long, especially given the fact that I'm literally training glutes in 48 hours. So I don't, my issue is I don't actually want to take anything out.
Yeah, my issue at the moment is Vicky's absolutely sending it 4 times a week. And with that, unfortunately, you can't train for, when your frequency goes up, your time spent in the actual sessions need to come down, in my opinion. So one thing that I'm going to reassess tomorrow in Vicky's check-in is just getting rid of any sort of junk volume out of the week, because she spends 2 hours training. She spends 8 hours a week training legs. That's fucking nuts. Just one body part. You know? That's crazy.
But I love it. My issue is I don't want to go down in either time of training or just my training sessions or my intensity of training. If I could send it in legs every single day, I would. So anyway, big session calls for a big post-workout. Today we have got 70 grams of cream of rice, 50 grams of banana, 50 grams of raspberries, 50 grams of blueberries. Why, you ask me? It's literally just because I like that combination. I don't like just having banana because it just gets really mushy, so I need something that I can actually bite into. Then on top I've got sprinkled 2 crunched up rice cakes. One is caramel, one is chocolate. Why did I find that so hard to say? One is chocolate. Again, drizzling my whey paste right on the top and sprinkling that with around 1 to 2 grams of pink salt. And that's all I've got to say. Fuck the engine second. 7:54. This is way past my bedtime, to be honest with you. I didn't feel much between my last meal and this meal, purely because all I did was check-ins and an Instagram post / announcement. And now it's time to eat my last meal and head to bed. So one important thing for both George and I to do is actually just unwind and relax a little bit before we go to bed, because when you work for yourself, it's non-stop and your brain is constantly active, constantly stimulated. So a few things that we do is we have our PM priming from Supplement Needs. This helps you unwind and relax. Absolutely swear by this. They've actually got a new formula, so if you've tried it before a couple of weeks ago, it'll be something completely different. It actually has L-theanine in there, which helps clearance of caffeine, and because I've had a stim pre-workout, as you can probably tell by my jitteriness, I need to sort of get rid of that. Have our supplements. George wears his blue light blockers because he believes that they help. I like to think that I wear my blue light blockers, but I don't like having anything on my face, so I wear them for about 2 minutes and then I take them off. For meal 5 of the day, we have got, I'm going to use your plate because it's more aesthetic. Let's pretend it's mine. We have got 2 bagels, 2 eggs, 50 grams of salmon, and 50 grams of Philadelphia Light. This meal is absolutely delicious, scrumptious, beautiful, and sexy. And a lot of people are probably going to be like, why are you having carbohydrates in the evening? It doesn't affect my sleep. It genuinely does not, and mushrooms as well. Yeah, having carbs before bed does not impact my sleep at all. I've always had them, and if anything, it helps me be a little bit fuller. Actually, the first time I incorporated carbs in the evening was when George told me to have oat when I was on prep in 2022.
Oats before bed is
in
my best way to get a good night's sleep is have a bowl of oats before you go to bed. Trust me.
Especially in prep.
Especially in prep.
When you've done like a 4 protein fat meal
What
day.
you should do, if you're dieting right now, is you should literally not starve yourself, but you should allocate a decent amount of food before you go to bed. Trust me, your sleep will so much better.
It's really useful if you train in the morning and train fasted. One thing we program for all of our clients, if they train in the morning because they're absolute nutters, have an oat bowl the night before, will give you more energy. So anyway, that is pretty much it for today's video. As always, if you have enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm getting good at these outros now. I shall leave you all and see you in the next one.